Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 152, August the 4th, 2017, Friday. That's right, it's Good Time Friday. Glad it finally got here. Hopefully you all had a good week and we're ready to all have a nice weekend. Let's get started. I want to start today's video by just offering a personal message to the President. I don't know if he's ever watched any of my videos, although I suspect it's possible. We know he does like to stay up late at night and check out YouTube and Twitter and various other things, so it is possible that he's seen one of my videos, or possible he may at some point see one of my videos. So I just want to give the following message to the President. And it is this: Mr. President, I know you're trying to drain the swamp, but you will not drain the swamp by refilling the swamp with more of the swamp monsters. You get rid of one and you bring a new one in. I know you need to bring in people who have experience and know how things are done inside the Beltway. But some of these people that you're relying on are not your friends. They're going to stab you right in the back. The two people are at the top of my list. Number one is, I've been railing on this guy for weeks and weeks and weeks now. I still continue to rail on this guy, Mr. President. You've got to fire him immediately. Immediately. He will put the knife in your back. I'm speaking about H.R. McMaster. He's a member of the deep state, closely connected to all the swamp monsters, including the Clintons, Mueller, the whole nine yards, the intelligence community, Clapper. He's up to his eyeballs with all of these people, and I'm going to disclose some information in this video today, sir, that might give you some food for thought, so that possibly you will make the decision I think you should make, which is to send Mr. McMaster packing as soon as possible. Immediately, if not sooner. Excuse me. Also, Christopher Wray, your new FBI director. I know he was just sworn in. He was just approved, or he's going to be sworn in. I did a bio right after you nominated him, and I showed where he was. He's been a lifelong member of the deep state. He served under Mueller. He served with Comey. He's been part of the Justice Department. He was a lawyer there. He's deeply embedded in that entire mentality, in that culture. I don't expect Christopher Wray is going to assume the responsibilities of FBI director and do the right thing. I think he's going to continue playing the game, and if he gets a half a chance, I think he'll stick a knife right in your back along with Mr. McMaster. They'll probably take turns, but it appears at this point that was your pick, and that's your man. What he's going to do about Mr. McCabe is he should fire Mr. McCabe immediately. He's under 3 criminal investigations, and if he does not within the first 30 days, we can figure out probably that Christopher Wray was not the right man for the job. If he does not decide to look into the Hillary Clinton emails, he was probably not the right man for the job. If he doesn't look into the Clinton Foundation, he's probably not the right man for the job. And if he can't take a look at the obstruction of justice by Comey and Lynch, he is definitely not the right man for the job. I hope I'm proven incorrect. I hope that Mr. Wray turns out to be a good FBI director and does what he's supposed to do. But I would not bet a penny on it. And as far as Mr. McMaster goes, I don't need to take a wild guess on that one. I've seen enough. I knew before day one what this guy was all about. So, Mr. President, if you want to drain the swamp, you got to drain the swamp. I highly suggest that you find people who've never been a part of the DC establishment. There's plenty of smart, capable people across the country. They may not understand how things work inside the Beltway, but right now what you need is loyal people, honest people that you can trust. And there are none inside the Beltway, Mr. President. Stop listening to whoever is telling you to bring these people onto your team, because whoever it is not giving you good advice. Let's continue. Well, as most of you know, Julian Assange retweeted that little 7-minute radio interview that Seymour Hersh did, where he came out and said that he has a source, high-level source inside the FBI that's looked at the FBI file on Seth Rich, and they know for a fact he did communicate with WikiLeaks, and he sent them some sample information. We can assume that this was the releases that we saw. Obviously, he had much more, but of course he didn't live to release any of that. But they were able to get the things he did release, which I guess was the sample. And the fact that Julian Assange would retweet that should leave no doubt in anyone's mind at this point that Seth Rich was the person who released the information to WikiLeaks. And when we're talking about Seymour Hersh, I was expecting to see hit pieces on him today, but no one touched him. And here's the reason why. Because they know in the corporate media that Seymour Hersh is a man that you simply can't go after. He's had his entire career. No one can tell you what his political affiliation is. I don't think he has one. I honestly don't. He has targeted Republicans, Democrats. He doesn't care. He is a real, true-to-life, old-school gumshoe reporter type throwback reporter who only has one interest, and that is telling the story, getting it right, giving you all sides of the story, giving you the truth, giving you the facts, and letting you decide what to think about it. He doesn't tell you what you should think about it. Now, if you ask him his opinion, anyone who knows Seymour Hersh, he will certainly give you his opinion. But when he writes his editorials or writes his stories, he does not do that. He lays out for you the facts. He is a throwback, and he's a very, very brave journalist, as he has proven once again by coming out and making this statement about Seth Rich. He did not need to do that. This did not help his credibility any. This will not help his legacy any. I don't think he cares about his legacy, to be honest with you. But this was nothing that would have benefited Seymour Hersh. If anything, he put himself out there to be viciously attacked. But no one's really attacking him at this point because they understand that most people who know much about Seymour Hersh know that he's got more credibility in his pinky than they have in their entire news organizations combined. Let's just review some of the things that Mr. Hersh has done. Epic things that he has done. For those of you who don't know, he won the Pulitzer Prize in 1970 for exposing the My Lai massacre in Vietnam. A story that, at that time, it was beyond brave to come out with that story because of it was such a tragic story that it was, to expose what he exposed about that massacre of those Vietnamese people and the way that it was done. And he cited names. It wasn't a vague story. I mean, he had details. He laid it all out there, and it led to real consequences for Lieutenant Calley. If you are not familiar with the story of the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, or if you have never read Seymour Hersh's piece that won him the Pulitzer Prize on the My Lai massacre, I highly recommend that you take a gander at that, and you'll see what a real courageous journalist could do, because it's a story like that can get you killed. A story like that will get you killed. But he's a very courageous man, and he broke that story. He also broke the Abu Ghraib story. And unfortunately, by the time in the 70s, you know, it was a lot different than the media. The media couldn't stop a story like that. But by the time, you know, by the 2000s, you know, the media situation had totally changed. So while he should have won a Pulitzer for the Abu Ghraib, and while Abu Ghraib should have netted us a lot more people at high levels being held accountable, unfortunately they were able to put it off on an E7 and an E4, low-level enlisted people who ended up taking the brunt for that, when of course everyone knows that no E7 or E4 could have laid out the plan to do the things they were doing at Abu Ghraib. That was decided at the highest levels, probably Cheney, Rumsfeld, Bush signing off on it, Mueller, the whole, Tenet, George Tenet, probably signing off on the whole thing. Heads should have rolled at Abu Ghraib. And if it were in the 1970s, they certainly would have. Things have changed. But he broke that story. He's won the Pulitzer. He should have won 2. He's won 5 Polk Awards, been nominated dozens of times. He's won dozens and dozens of magazine awards. He's been nominated many, many, many times. He is a truly honest, truly courageous journalist. maybe one of the last of a dying breed. And Seymour Hersh puts it on the line again and comes out and tells us that Seth Rich, he knows for a fact from his contact at the FBI, was in contact and sent some information to WikiLeaks. And we know that Julian Assange has retweeted that interview. If you ever had any doubt that Seth Rich was the person who leaked those emails to WikiLeaks, there should no longer be any doubt in your mind. Trump gave a rousing speech today to 45,000 people in West Virginia. It was totally awesome. I listened to it, and that crowd was really fired up. And it was really cool. At one point, he was talking about the special prosecutor, and he said, you know what the special prosecutor should be looking at is those 35,000 deleted emails by Hillary Clinton. And the crowd went crazy. I mean, they literally went for 5 minutes straight. He had to wait for them to stop because they just went crazy and went into their lock her up chant. And Trump even referred to her again as Crooked Hillary. Back to Crooked Hillary. I love the name calling that he did all through the campaign and stuff, and I think he should get back to that. Those pet names work, man. Those are great. He should get back to that. And but anyway, it was a rousing speech today, and he gave the speech in West Virginia because the governor of West Virginia, whose name is Jim Justice, made his announcement today at Trump's rally. He was a Democratic governor, a Democrat. Today he showed up at Trump's speech and announced that tomorrow he is changing his party registration affiliation to Republican. This will be a trend. Believe me, there are a lot of nervous Democrats in those former blue states that Trump turned red. They're reading the tea leaves. They know what the hell's going on. I would say that you will see, I don't know, it's hard for governors. That's a tough deal. Amazing that he would do that, but he certainly did it. I heard it live. And we might see that this is a trend. The next guy to watch very carefully is Joe Manchin. He's been asked about it, and he said, no, I wouldn't leave the Democratic Party. I think that they need to come home to where I'm at, and hopefully I would rather work in with the Democratic Party and get things turned around. At some point, he is going to realize that that is a train that has totally gone off the rails, and it ain't coming back. It's only going down, down, down. I would not be surprised after the 2018 elections if it goes really well for Trump in 2018, and people that support Trump do very well, and people who do not support Trump, be they Republican or Democrat, do not do well. I think you could very well see Joe Manchin change his party affiliation, and that wouldn't surprise me. And there's a few other people on the radar screen as well. It's very interesting, could be a trend, and we need to pay attention to it. It's very important. It's very meaningful because we see what has happened in these special elections, and now we see a governor of West Virginia, a state that was typically a pretty strong ally to the Democratic Party, sometimes would go Republican, but had gone for Obama and for Clinton. So we should be watching very carefully and see if this is a trend that may continue. Oh my goodness. Circa News, Sarah Carter. Man, she's a great reporter. 1 month after it was disclosed that former Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice was unmasking members of Trump's team and other Americans, Trump's own National Security Advisor, Mr. McMaster, sent an official letter giving Susan Rice unfettered and continued access to classified information and waiving her need-to-know requirement on anything that she wanted to view or receive during her tenure. There we go, Mr. McMaster. I've read the letter. You can read the letter too. Just go to gatewaypundit.com, gatewaypundit.com, and you can read the letter too. It was sent to her home address, her personal home, and it was a letter addressed to her from Mr. McMaster telling her that he was doing all these wonderful things for her. Not only that, but Mr. McMaster has come out publicly now and said that Susan Rice did nothing wrong. She's A-OK. You see, I told you McMaster was no good. I've been telling you McMaster is no good. I'll continue to tell you that McMaster is no good, and he will eventually continue to do more harm until he is fired. And it needs to happen now. Immediately. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Senators and the Judiciary Committee have put together a bipartisan bill to prevent Trump from firing Mueller. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible that members of Congress would put together a bill restricting the president from doing something that is perfectly within his authority. That's just absolutely unbelievable. And the two swamp creatures that we need to be focused on are Representative Tom Tillich from North Carolina, Maura, one of your boys, and Chris Coons, Democrat of Delaware. This bipartisan legislation is being put together to block Trump from being able to stop Mueller, because Mueller is going into territory in his investigation that crosses Trump's line, meaning he's looking into Trump's personal business affairs going back 10, 20, 30 years, including the business affairs of his son-in-law Jared Kushner and anyone else. So the Russia collusion thing isn't going to net him anything, so now he's going to go digging for something else. Thank you, Mr. Rosenstein. Thank you, Jeff Sessions. Bravo. Fantastic job. Mueller has also finished, he has now assembled his jury, and we know now that Kushner and his family's real estate company are being targeted. Also, they have sent subpoenas to Kushner and Trump Jr., and they're focusing on the meeting with the Russian lawyer Veselnitskaya. Do you think that Mr. Mueller's jury consists mostly of former Obama administration attorneys and Hillary Clinton donors? Hell, his posse does. Why not the damn grand jury? Maybe he can nominate Bill Clinton to be the judge. How about that? Or Barack Obama himself. Why not? That would actually work out very well in that kabuki theater that he's running. He better be very, very careful. Mr. Mueller needs to be very careful. Do you think Mr. Mueller... Do you think Uncle Bob is going to, in the process of looking into that meeting with the Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya, do you think he's going to look into that special, extremely rare exemption that was given to her by Loretta Lynch? Do you think that they're going to explain why she was not allowed to be in the country and had her visa, could not get a visa in the first place? Do you think he's going to look into why they went ahead and gave her that special exemption so she could come into the country and lobby? Do you think they're going to talk to any of the Democratic congressmen who she lobbied with, of which there are many, and Republicans as well? Do you think that they are going to look into her association with Fusion GPS and Mr. Simpson? Do you think Uncle Bob is going to look into any of those things? He's looking into Mr. Kushner and his family's real estate deals. He's looking into Donald Trump's real estate deals. He's very interested in that meeting. Do you think he'll talk to Mr. Goldstone and find out who set up that meeting and why? Do you think that they'll actually look and see who Mrs. Veselnitskaya is connected to, who Mr. Goldstone is connected to, who Fusion GPS is connected to? Do you think any of that will happen with Uncle Bob? Do you think that his grand jury will be looking into any of those things? I doubt it. Good old H.R. McMaster. Just can't get enough of this guy. Just can't get enough of this guy. Also, in addition to all the other things I told you about Mr. McMaster, he has fired 2 NSC officials who are known to be Trump loyalists. He did not tell Trump he was going to do this, and Trump is fuming mad. This is another reason, Mr. President, why you should fire McMaster's ass immediately and rehire those 2 people he fired. Now, apparently what is going on is that there is a struggle, internal struggle, between former Obama administration holdovers and some of Trump's people at the NSC. They are coming to some serious disagreements over some foreign policy issues, specifically dealing with Syria, as I understand. And it appears that Mr. McMaster has decided to he prefers the Obama administration policy positions, going completely against Trump's policy decisions for Syria. And so what he has promised to do is to clean out and get rid of all of Trump's people, or anyone who sees it the way Trump sees it. H.R. McMaster wants to get rid of those people, leaving the Obama holdovers, along with any of the deep state creatures who think like him, who they can get back in there to force a change in Trump's Syria policy, which the most important thing is that he's decided to stop the CIA program, which is funding foreign fighters who continue to come into Syria and stir the pot, preventing any type of a peaceful resolution to the situation there in Syria. Because as I've mentioned in previous videos, the things going on in Syria have little to do with Syria itself. It has more to do with the fact that there are two competing pipelines, the North Stream and South Stream pipelines, that are proposed. Both of them run right through Syria. And this is what the Syria conflict is and always has been about. Just about most things that take place in the Middle East and in that area of the world, it's usually about pipelines and poppy fields. Pipelines and poppy fields. That is the root of most of the foreign policy that we have in that region of the world. Because in pipelines and poppy fields are millions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars actually, involved, as well as global strategic advantages to the person who can be the one who gets the pipeline feeding oil into Europe going through Syria. This is the truth, my friends. I've laid this out in the previous video where I go into great detail. If you haven't seen that video, it's probably 3-4 months ago. Go back and take a look at it, where I explain to you the geopolitical situation and the issue between the North and South Stream pipeline deals. I tell you who the players are, what their advantages are that they're looking for, and what they are doing to try to bring about success for their team. And right now it continues to be a stalemate. Putin's not going to roll over and give up that lucrative and necessary arrangement he has in feeding oil and natural gas into Europe. It's critically important, and the West knows this, and they know that if they can get that pipeline in there, it would be a massive body blow to Putin and the Russian economy. This is what it's all about, my friends. Hit them where they ain't. You know, if you live in Arizona, I don't know. I think conservatives or Republicans in Arizona must be a different brand of Republican. And you might be watching my video right now. You might be from Arizona. Nothing personal against you, but quite honestly, what the fuck is going on? You've got Senator Magoo, and I think I've covered Senator Magoo pretty well in my videos, and I'll continue to do so. I haven't looked into what he did today, but I'm sure he shit all over somebody today if he had any chance of doing so. But you got another senator there, Jeff Flake. Mr. Flake is an a-hole. He's a hardcore anti-Trumper, just as much of an anti-Trumper as John McCain. Your governor is an anti-Trumper. But Jeff Flake is a real special kind of a-hole. And he has been a hardcore anti-Trumper. He's really been hitting Trump hard lately. And it appears that he is getting a wake-up call. And he's now seeing some of the feedback and some of the fallout from his behavior, which I think is about to change, although it may be too late. And I hope it is. Because we now learn today, Mr. Flake, Jeff Flake, senator from Arizona, has an 18% approval rating. And most of it that's driving his poll numbers down and making people very unhappy in Arizona is his Trump bashing. His Trump bashing has dropped him down to 18%. He is very vulnerable. Are you listening to me? If you are a person in Arizona and you have a little bit of, I shouldn't say a little bit, but if you are quite the credible person, if you're a solid, upstanding citizen, if you have a decent education, a decent background, you need to run against Jeff Flake. This guy needs to be primaried. He's beatable. He is definitely beatable. And all you have to do is go out and say, Jeff Flake has been bashing the president. He does not support the agenda. I will. That's your entire campaign. Just go out and repeat that over and over and over again. You will beat Jeff Flake and become the new U.S. Senator from Arizona. And God knows we need changes in Arizona and both your senators and the governorship. What the hell is going on in Arizona? Jeff Flake, what an a-hole. I really don't like that guy. Hey, Congress has decided to cut the remaining sessions short. Remember all them people that were going to drag in there and they were going to talk to get to the bottom of everything? Samantha Power, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Ben Rhodes, James Comey, on and on, on and on, on and on. All these people they were going to get to, they're really going to get to the bottom of it. Well, guess what? They've decided to cut the remaining sessions off. They're not going to go ahead and go through with them. They're just going to go ahead and go on vacation early. Many people talking about the fact that they should stay, cancel vacation, and stay and work on the healthcare reform. Stay and have those hearings and get to the bottom of the criminal activities. Stay and try to throw a wrench into the spokes of the deep state coup. But no, these people are part of the deep state coup. As Nat has so eloquently pointed out, as Mr. Chopra has pointed out, as Maura has pointed out. And by the way, President Trump, if you're still watching, I know my videos, according to John, are a little long and quite boring, but if you're still watching, Mr. President, I highly suggest you take a look at Maura's list of swamp creatures. No one on her list of swamp creatures should ever be nominated to any position anywhere near your administration. Her list is good. It's very good. It's very detailed, and it's getting longer and longer every day. A lot of names are on there. Some of those names are right now in your administration, Mr. President. You need to look at Maura's list, and anyone that's in your administration that's on Maura's list, very diligently, she has gone about putting that list together. She's worked very hard on it. She didn't do it for her freaking health. She did it for you, Mr. President. Read Maura's list of swamp creatures. There you will find the people who will stab you right in the back. If they're around you now, get rid of them. If they're not and you're considering bringing them in, don't. Congress goes on vacation early. Unbelievable. These guys, you know, if I'm Donald Trump, President Trump, Saturday morning, as soon as I learn that these guys have packed it in and left Washington, D.C., I give them a very good Saturday morning surprise. I go ahead and reverse their the executive order relieving them from having to participate and be a part of Obamacare. I put every damn one of them people right on Obamacare with no subsidies, no Cadillac plans, no preferred doctors. Let's see, John Magoo, Senator Magoo at the VA, waiting in that 9. You know, if Senator Magoo were forced to live under the health care law that he wants you and I to live under, his ass would be dead right now because he would still be on a 6 to 10 month waiting list to get cancer treatment. And once he did get to see a doctor, it would be a primary care physician to say, yeah, tap on his knee, stick his finger up his ass, blow in his eye, blow in his ear, and tell him, okay, you're going to need a specialist. And 2 years later, he would get around to a specialist, by which point the cancerous tumor would have already killed Senator Magoo. And once again, I want to be the first person to come out and say I have the utmost sympathy for that tumor that is being forced to live in John McCain's miserable, nasty, dirty head. My oh my. Absolutely unbelievable. Well, have we covered everything for Friday? I believe we have. Make sure we didn't miss anything. Okay. Yes. Yes. Democrats, some Democrats being interviewed, who were some of the Democrats who had won Imran Awan working as an IT tech for them. These are some of the ones who fired him. And one of them is being asked on TV on an interview, I think it's MSNBC, if they felt that maybe Awan was able to access any information, classified information or whatever. And she goes, oh no, no, we don't think he had the ability to do that. Because he was, they were fired, they were barred from the network back in February. So we're pretty confident, no, that he didn't get his hands on anything. Oh my God. You know, these people, they just lie. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. You get the feeling that they think all of us out here in flyover country are just dumber than dirt, dumber than a football bat. They have to believe that because they continue to come out and say things, and you know, it's just I don't know. I mean, I don't know if these members of Congress, when they get there, they get chipped. I don't know if they get put under some mind control. They're injected with something. Maybe it's just that they're paid off. I mean, it's really. I mean, we really need. I think you know, you hear a lot of people talk about term limits, and I always get mad when people talk about term limits because we already have term limits. We get to term limit these people every 2 years in the House and every 6 years in the Senate. What we really need to see, and what I'm actually projecting we might see, is that we might see a lot of Republicans being primaried. I think you'll see a lot of Democrats primaried too. I think you could see probably a record election coming up in 2018 for a midterm. I think you could see a lot of Republicans and Democrats being primaried, and I think you could see some fairly big-name Democrats go down to primary challengers. I certainly hope Mr. Flake is one of them. Maxine Waters should definitely lose to that guy running against her. Paul Ryan is running against a very good guy up there in Wisconsin. So anyway, it's too early to go down that road, but as we approach the 2018 elections, I will be focusing a lot on that. So anyway, it just kind of frustrates you, you know, because you know, you don't like anyone to play you for an idiot or a fool. And you know, at least ways we now have the alternative media. At least ways I can do a video and vent my frustrations, and you guys can also vent in the comment section, or do your own videos, or talk to your friends, or go on Facebook, or do whatever you do. At least ways we now have an outlet. You know, I'm trying to remember back before the days before, you know, social media and the internet, how we dealt with it. And I remember I used to just sit on my couch and just literally scream at the TV. I mean, I would literally just sit there and scream at the TV. And get my blood pressure up, and wasn't good. It's not even healthy. It's not healthy to be constantly consternated. So hopefully we can find a little humor in all this. But for the most part, it's you know, when you see these people and they're doing the things they're doing, saying the things they're saying, it just really infuriates you. You know, because you know, at least if someone's doing it to your face, you know, you can confront them. But you know, these people get to go on TV and say this, and yeah, you can do a video later, or you can, you know, do something like that. But still, at the moment when you're seeing it or hearing it, it's really maddening. But anyway, that's what's going on with that. I think that these people are going to find out if we can ever get to the bottom of it, which, like I say, will only happen through civil lawsuits, maybe whistleblowers, maybe some really good journalists coming out, you know, a deep throat type character, something like that. The deep state criminals are not going to produce. That's why we need to primary them, defeat them, and we need to drain the swamp. And Trump, I hope he watches this video. I hope he does at some point. But he needs to get busy on draining the swamp himself and not filling it up with other swamp creatures. Fire McMaster immediately. Best thing he could do. TowerGate, day 151, August the 3rd, 2017, Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing my videos, giving me thumbs up. I do appreciate it. And I will be back tomorrow, Saturday evening, my late Saturday evening video. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And I'll be doing a lot of research in the next 24 hours to bring that to you. So thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a good night. Take care. Bye.